Hello, I'm Alan Malik with Patient Tools, and I wanted to run through a quick demo on how to use the on-demand implementation. Basically, the on-demand just builds on the simplified version, and so you can still have the group link available to you, as well as the ability to go pick up reports remotely if you want to set it up that way. But we actually have a set of apps that are much more helpful and much more useful in a much higher traffic sort of situations out of an office usually. So if you just click on this link for the Patient Tools apps, what you'll see is we have a whole bunch of these set up inside the system. And they're all downloadable off of Android, the Google Play or Apple or the Apple App Store, or Kindle Fire even, and mostly all these are available on Windows platforms as well. So you can do any combination of them. So we'll just kind of run through a few of them. But the biggest thing is the real workhorse here is the PTI Office app, and it essentially replaces the old custom tablets that we built back in the day and so forth. And it runs on any sort of commercial tablet, and it's used for that interaction in the office. So it looks something like this. And this can, like we said, this can be running on any sort of device. So you log in, and you have a main menu here available to you. And you can configure this to do anything you want. So like this universal screening up here, basically what you'll do is you'll enter an ID, like maybe their HRN number or something of that nature. And you drop it in there. And if it's not in the system already, then you have to add it. So let's add in Alan Malik. So it'll make me old, or relatively old. And this pulls up a whole list of different measures that I could do at the same time if I wanted to. But let's just do a PHQ-9 to bounce through it real quick. And so at that point, you'd probably hand it off to the patient. And they just drop in, they start answering questions, run through very quickly. And so, just understanding that you can run the PTI Office all by itself in a manual mode, essentially is what we're doing here, where you start everything from an opening screen. And when you're all done, they just hit end, and now this will automatically process into your system depending on what you're hooked up to. So that's the real simple way through the whole thing. Now, if you want to get a little bit more in control of the process, what you want to do is you want to use a front desk. And so in the front desk, what you end up doing is you're going to actually initiate things from the patient's profile already. So let's just go in here. And so we can just search. You can partial any sort of on any sort of name. So let's just put like a T for test. And there's a ton of tests in there, and so we can just drop in on any one of these. We'll go in test tester. And they happen to be set up for date of birth, which is basically a couple years old sort of thing. So they're getting hit for an MChat, an ASQ3, and potentially an ASQSE. You can click any portion of this off or leave it on. And we can launch at different places. So let's just launch to an internal office tablet and so forth. So, and we're going to use the Universal Screening Protocol, and we just hit launch on that. And if we go back to and go down and check our launch list, just enter a simple access code. By default, it's always 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's test tester down here at the very bottom. We just click on that. Start now, and we should be dropping directly into an ASQ3. So there's ASQ3, pick our language, and it automatically does prematurity for you, which is a very useful tool. And now you're just answering questions, single click at a time. You can bounce right through it. You can pause at any time, so they could go back and actually spend time with the provider. Ideally, though, you want to have them complete it before they get into the visit so that you can get the results out ahead of time, sort of thing. So just a better way to launch from there, from inside of here, then you can go through and you can look at, oh, okay, let's look at profile detail associated with test tester. So this is a PHQ that was done back on the 18th. You can click this down, it'll give you a result over here. If you click on the view, you drop in, you can see the whole view. And this is part of a integrated screening report, which includes a bunch of other dimensions, but in this case it was just the PHQ-9. We can go back and look at things like, oh, let's look at it on the screening list. So let's pull up the last 50 screenings that have come into the office. Now you can click into any one of these. So we can go into Billy Demo 1 here and look at his ASQs. And then his results are quite a bit different because there's quite a few metrics that are inside of the ASQ3. You click here, you can go into the full report. So it's kind of useful in terms of getting the screening list. The other thing that's very useful in the front desk is to use the launch list, and that'll go through and basically if we do a search on this guy, these are just the ones that are active. You can show all, so you can see the ones that are completed as well. And that pulls up a bigger list. And oh, not big enough to make it stop rolling. So anyway, you can do the launch list. You can look at specific detail. You can chase down anybody. There's also other features inside here that we'll get into later. And then for purposes of automation within your office, you're probably going to want to use a print station, which we've already just automatically comes up, and will automatically pull down the queue so everything's queued up. So that one we just did is this guy right here, and he actually shows up. You can actually put it out as a PDF. You can put it out as it's a hard copy print and so forth, but it just runs it off automatically for you, sort of thing. And then the last item that's probably useful inside the office is to look at a dashboard, and you can pull up like frequency tables and graphs and so forth, or you can just look at the individual responses. So it takes a second to bounce in here, but let's just go ahead and compute like the ASQ3, and you can get a quick idea of what's going on with them and so forth. So you can see below cutoffs, close to cutoffs, and you can put all sorts of filters up here, practices, gender, any sort of demographic that you want on these. So it's just a quick way to look at your data, and a lot of people don't go to this level, but it's very useful if you're ever trying to write a grant, or you're trying to think about marketing and so forth, and try to see what kind of where your population is at and those sorts of things. So just a bunch of real simple apps that you can use here, but those are the four main ones right there: the office, the front desk, the print station, and the dashboard. And the last feature I probably want to show you is on that front desk. One of the cool features that we just added recently is the ability to go to, say, a remote portal, so you can do a remote launch. And so in this case, what you're now doing is you're going to have to give it an email address or a text phone number or something like that. So we'll just use mine. And remote launch, ASQ3, so we're good to go. So we push that out, and an email comes in. Hello, Billy 1. It's coming from the demo practice here, but it's a secure link that is specifically for doing this ASQ3, and it has a time to live inside the system. But all they have to do is click on that, and it could have been on their smartphone, it could have been on a tablet. This is basically equivalent of the group link that you used in the simplified version of this whole thing. And you pop in and you start it in. Just depends on how you have it configured and so forth. So you're dropping in, doing your prematurity, maybe not. Drop in, and away you go. So essentially it's all running the same in terms of how it actually administers and so forth. They're just different devices and porting to different places. So there we are with a quick demo. You can do remote screening, you can do in the office screening, you can even look on your launch list and figure out that something did not get done in the portal, and you can turn around and redirect it internally to a tablet in the office and get it done inside the office. But a nice little set of apps that can allow you to run through any sort of automated sort of process you want to do inside your office. So that concludes the demo, and thank you much for your time.